Committee, multiple cities across the OSCE area have been the target of terrorist attacks. In March, our Parliamentary Assembly coordinated a parliamentary conference on combating international terrorism together with the Inter-Parliamentary Assembly of the Commonwealth of Independent States in St. Petersburg. I emphasize the need to a proactive response to terrorism that recognizes the various underlying issues fueling radicalization and violent extremism. I underlined that an effective counter-terrorism strategy required a multifaceted and coordinated response, of which good governance, democracy, the rule of law, and political dialogue are essential ingredients. My visit to St. Petersburg was also the occasion to reinforce interparliamentary convergence on transnational threats, and I took the opportunity to meet with the speakers of the parliaments of Russia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, and Kyrgyzstan. As you will have seen in my letter, which was circulated a couple of weeks ago, I think we need to consider the establishment of an ad hoc committee so that the OSCE can make an effective contribution in the fight against terrorism. We will get back to this later during the meeting. This spring, the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly co-organized several conferences and seminars. In March, we explored issues such as the role of women in developing a new pan-European security architecture and prospects for gender mainstreaming in the OSCE fieldwork at the conference OSCE Security Policy Female Perspective. It was held in the Austrian Parliament. The third edition of the Leinsweiler seminar, organized under the leadership of our treasurer, Doris Barnett, focused on the renationalization of politics and the fight for geopolitical spheres of influences endangering peace and security. Thank you, Doris, for that. Finally, I hosted a retreat in Carinthia to discuss how parliaments can promote adequate structures and a supportive environment for national minorities. In April, I was in Malta, underline that the Mediterranean areas remain important to our work in many fields. I also traveled to Tashkent to encourage Uzbekistan's re-engagement with the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. I would like to salute the participation of the delegation from Uzbekistan in this annual session. I also traveled to China to explore areas of cooperation between the OSCE and Beijing, and the OSCE and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Finally, I was in Kazakhstan a couple of weeks ago to attend the Astana Expo 2017 and participate in the 25th OSCE Economic Environmental Forum dealing with the future energy. Last month, I also asked a senior delegation to follow up on the visit we conducted in Turkey after the July coup attempt in 2016. I would now like to ask the Vice President, George Tsereteli, who led this delegation, to briefly report on the visit. George, you have the floor. I haven't seen you. Here he is. George, please.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to greet all our colleagues here at the Assembly, all our friends, and of course, Belarusian authorities for hosting this very important event. I thought that my short briefing will be a little bit later on, but it's no problem. There were many events in the Assembly which are important, of course, and you mentioned about our meetings, retreats, conferences, and all of them to strengthen our Assembly and to spread our values and messages around the world. And I think when we had a meeting at the Bureau in Copenhagen and we had a very live discussion about events in Turkey, which of course matter of concern to many countries, not only in the region, because of importance of this country, because input and contribution of Turkey in many directions, especially in the times of migration crisis. But there are also issues which are real interest, which are very interesting for the Assembly and Assembly members. That's why it was decision of the Bureau and the President, and of course it was very important to go to Turkey to compose delegation. There was high-level delegation, as you mentioned, and I'm thankful that I led that and I had the possibility to be there with my colleagues and friends. It was a very strong team. I'd like to extend my thanks to all of them, especially to Azay Guliev, who also was one of the initiators of that trip. Also, Nacho Sanchez Amor and Dobesova and Roberto Montella, Andreas Becker, also representative from the OSCE office. And I think it was really very important. It was very sensitive. It was tough, let's say, because we went there not to say very nice things always, you know. There were messages which conveyed, which we are discussing here as a concerns in times of dismissals in Turkey, in times of detentions after failed coup d'etat. And we also admitted all the problems which Turkish government has at this moment with migration, with the terrorism, and with also with this environment after the failed coup. And one, I'd like to say that we've been very open in the discussions. We passed all the critical messages that we have, and we met leadership of Turkey, the speaker, our delegation. We're very much thankful to Turkish delegation in the OSCE for the hospitality and arrangement and facilitation. Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Justice, who is a very important figure to take into consideration all the detentions and dismissals and the functioning of courts and so on, and of course civil society representatives and all the leadership of all the political parties who are represented in the parliament, and people who are affected also during those times. And if I'd like to say in a nutshell, we felt and we heard from Turkish government they are admitting the problems and they are willing to cooperate and to improve the situation that they have at this moment. I'm not sure that everything is fulfilled after our visit, but at least I think we together saw the track. We saw in which channel should be more efforts of Turkish government to improve the situation, which is not easy, as I said, after the failed coup d'etat. So it's shortly what I'd like to say, and once again, thanks to all the members of the mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George, for your information. I think it's very important what you did, and it's very important to keep the debate and the discussion and the channels open. Allow me not to elaborate further, as we need to proceed with the next agenda items. More details of my activities and our activities are available in the summary which has been made available in electronic and in printed form. Are there any comments or questions? I have one person, Mr. Gerasimov from the Ukraine. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear Madam President, dear colleagues, first of all, I want to greet you in Minsk and really say thank you for our Belarusian colleagues for such an event. And to make a short update about situation with Russian aggression in Ukraine. Situation is very, very simple. Every day, Russians killing our soldiers. Unfortunately, there is no ceasefire. Since the beginning of the year, more than 120 our soldiers killed in action, more than 70 civilians killed. And you know that special monitoring mission monitor from United States was killed on the occupied territory, and even more. Recently, the SMM monitors were threatened to be killed on the occupied territory, so we need to protect them and really to support these heroes who are really helping us to solve these issues. Also, we kindly ask all our Assembly colleagues to demand from Russia to respect international humanitarian law and humanitarian part of Minsk agreement. Unfortunately, at the moment, 132 hostages kept in prisons illegally on the occupied territory, plus those kept illegally and detained illegally in Russia, plus Crimean Tatars kept illegally in the Crimea. And I want to stress your attention that a lot of journalists inside them, for example, Stas Aseev now kept on the occupied territory, journalist Roman Sushchenko kept in Russia, our journalist Semena kept in Crimea. They are not allowing even to call to their families since May 2016, and what is really very, very worried, that International Red Cross is not allowed to visit them. And I really want to ask our community to help us and to help International Red Cross to visit these people. Just for information, that inside the Minsk process, Ukraine is ready to give pardon to hundreds of criminals which are requested by Russians. But for your information, overwhelming majority of those people don't want to move to occupied territory. And this is the proved fact. And last but not least, about Russia's message that there is no regular Russian army in Donbass. A few days ago, again, regular Russian military was captured in the occupied territory. Of course, Russians telling this is not our guy. But what to do with his passport, with his military ticket, with his mother, with his family, who already proved that this is regular Russian guy, who suddenly was captured on the occupied territory. So, this is a short update. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Guliev. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I am also want to join in thanking the hosting country, our friend Belarus, for their hospitality and excellent organization. I hope that this session will be remarkable and we will enjoy all being here in Minsk. Also, I would like to thank Madam President for your work you did for the last year. I do find it very much interesting, and you really try to cover all the aspects of the Assembly's duties. And of course, it is very, very important task for us as a parliamentarians to fulfill in this platform. And one of them is to have the dialogue with our member states, particularly with those who need in such a, let's say, challenging times. I'd like to also appreciate your decision, Madam President, and also support of Secretary General for deploying the special mission to Turkey that we had at the beginning of the last June. I found it very much interesting and fruitful. I also thank my friend George Sereteli for his leadership and all other members of the mission that we had very fruitful discussions, meeting with the Turkish authority. Of course, as has been mentioned here, Turkey is facing now with different and also with serious challenges. One of them is a reading of the remedies of the coup d'etat that took place last July. And another is dealing with the refugee issues, the migrants flow from Syria and the other Middle East countries. And of course, third one is a fight against terrorism. The terrorism is a number one issue for, unfortunately, all the OSCE area that we should combine our common efforts. We have been to Turkey and we discussed with the appropriate authorities, with the leadership of Turkey. I'm very pleased that Turkey has provided all necessary atmosphere and the condition for our visit, for the discussion, and I do appreciate that the openness of the Turkish leadership. And I think in that circumstances, we have, of course, very close work to our Turkish friends, and also our delegation has been told that the rule of law and the human rights in Turkey will be furtherly provided, and the rule of law and the human rights issue is one of the the field of activities of the Turkish government. I think we have to continue this dialogue with Turkish authority. I also want to once more add that the Turkish delegation in OSCE is quite friendly, and we also think that in the future this type of contact must be continued. Of course, we will do our best in order to come over all difficulties, all challenges that our member countries is facing. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is our colleague from Turkey, Mr. Goca.
Thank you. I appreciate President Maton'un for remarks on Turkey. We underwent an extraordinary challenge with the coup attempt led by FETÖ terrorist organization last year. Fortunately, that attempt failed, aided by the bravery of the Turkish people. Investigation is ongoing to bring the perpetrators to justice. We are trying to strike the balance between protecting the security on one hand and protecting fundamental freedoms on the other. It's not an easy task, as FETÖ is a clandestine organization and discourse is among their tactics. It may not be easy for other countries to fully appreciate the situation. So we welcome such visits, as has been done by OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, to talk us and get a better understanding of the situation. Genuine and interactive dialogue is very, very important. Terrorism is a global threat at unprecedented levels. As the situation worldwide has shown, no country is safe and is isolated from terrorist threats anymore. Turkey is faced with serious threats caused by a multitude of terrorist organizations, FETÖ, PKK, DHKPC, and DAESH. We can succeed in our fight against terrorism only if we act together and don't discriminate or cherry pick among terrorist organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we come to the next item on the agenda, which is practical and procedural matters. Members of the Standing Committee will note the following. The deadline for nominations of Assembly officers will be at 10 a.m. on Saturday, the 8th of July. The elections for Assembly officers will be held on the morning of Sunday, the 9th of July, between 8:30 and 11 a.m. Early voting for members who have an unavoidable obligation to leave the annual session before Sunday will take place from 12 p.m. on Saturday. I remind you, and this is important, I remind you that members must request early voting in writing. More information about the room and how long it will last, the early voting will be given later. We come to the ratification of the membership of the 3 general committees. In accordance with paragraph 2 of Rule 36 of the Rules of Procedure, membership of the General Committees shall be ratified by the Standing Committee or the Bureau. All delegations have been reminded of the request of the Standing Committee that the distribution of members between the 3 general committees should be as equal as possible. The Secretary General has indicated to me that these rules have been observed and that the Secretariat is distributing voting cards for the 3 committees in accordance with as equal a division as possible to comply with this. Is the membership of the General Committees agreed? This is the case. Thank you. We come to the supplementary items. In accordance with Rule 21.1 of the Rules of Procedures, the agenda of the annual session may be supplemented by an item or a motion of any matter within the competence of the OSCE, which does not relate directly to subjects proposed by the general rapporteurs to the 3 committees. In preparation for our annual session, the International Secretariat has received 15 supplementary items with sufficient support for consideration during the annual session. The list of supplementary items and its proposed allocation has been circulated. Note that according to the Rules 21.1 of the Rules of Procedures, the Standing Committee shall decide by a 2/3 majority of votes cast whether to include a supplementary item on the agenda of the annual session. Furthermore, in accordance with Rule 32.1, only affirmative and negative votes shall count in calculating the number of votes cast. The number of abstentions shall be recorded. I will now read out the title of each supplementary item and its proposed allocation. If you wish to discuss and vote the inclusion of a specific supplementary item in the agenda, please indicate this when the item is reached. Debate will be limited to 1 speaker against placing the supplementary item on the agenda of the annual session and 1 speaker in favor. Each speaker may not speak for more than 2 minutes. So we come to the list of the supplementary items. Supplementary item number 1 by Mr. Smith. He will present it, right? He is not here. So the supplementary item number 1 is preventing child sexual exploitation online through advances in technology. Are there any objections to including this item in the agenda of the annual session? No. Thank you. The item is included. We come to number 2. Number 2, restoration of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Ukraine. Are there any objections to including this item in the agenda of the annual session? Yes, please.
Уважаемая госпожа председатель, уважаемые коллеги, мы не стали вступать в полемику с нашими коллегами из Украины, которые выступили с рядом ничем не подтвержденных пропагандистских заявлений в начале нашей работы, но хотим привлечь ваше внимание к тем проблемам, которые сегодня стоят перед Парламентской ассамблеей ОБСЕ. Мы считаем, что рассмотрение дополнительных пунктов, связанных с вопросами, которые предложили наши коллеги с Украины, а также коллеги из одной из прибалтийских республик и коллеги из Швеции, подрывают авторитет Парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ. Они создают обстановку конфронтации, которая, как мне кажется, не будет способствовать дальнейшему сотрудничеству и плодотворному диалогу. Ни у кого нет права учить другие страны, как им поступать и как им жить. Здесь равноправный диалог представителей парламентов, представителей народов всех стран. Поэтому я обращаюсь ко всем нашим коллегам с просьбой не поддерживать 3 пункта дополнительных резолюций, о которых я сказал. И в частности, мы категорически выступаем против рассмотрения предложения украинских коллег о якобы восстановлении их суверенитета. Это дело Украины, Россия в этом готова ей помогать, но все заявления о том, что суверенитет Украины каким-либо образом нарушен со стороны нашей страны, мы считаем ложными и не соответствующими действительности. Призываем отказаться от конфронтационного духа в ОБСЕ, чтобы не повторялась ситуация, которая сложилась в других европейских парламентских организациях, в частности, в ПАСЕ. Это, я считаю, негативный пример, и мы должны сохранить эту площадку для диалога. Делегация России, еще ряд делегаций категорически против рассмотрения этого пункта. Спасибо.
Thank you. Please, Mr. Gerasimov.
Dear Madam President, dear colleagues, in 2015, in 2016, our Parliamentary Assembly made a decision which were against Russian aggression to Ukraine. A Russian aggression to Ukraine, because every day Russian ammunition flows through the uncontrolled part of the Russian-Ukrainian border. Again, a few days ago was the last case with regular Russian army soldiers and officers, Master Sergeant Ageyev, his family name, was captured on the Ukrainian territory. Of course, you are telling he is not Russian, but what to do with his mother, who recognized him and told that he is a regular Russian army officer? What to do with his family, etc. And just one question I want to ask everybody before voting for this. Is the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine restored or not yet? Unfortunately, more than 1,000 shellings from the beginning of this year, more than 120 soldiers killed from the beginning of the year. Aggression still continues. And our task to respect international law, to respect international principles and values, but not to close the eyes on the aggression in the center of Europe in the 21st century. Thank you. And I want to ask everybody to support inclusion of this supplementary item into our program. Thank you.
So we come to the vote. Please, those who are in favor of putting the supplementary item on putting it on the agenda of the plenary session, hold up your cards for quite a long time because we have to count. Now, to those who are against, So the vote is in favor with 26 against 2 votes. Thank you. We come to the next item, number 3, strengthening energy security in the OSCE region. Are there any objections, including this item in the agenda of the annual session? This is not the case. We move to number 4, promoting gender-inclusive and responsive mediation. Nobody, is there anybody against? This is not the case. We come to item number 5, situation in Belarus. Anybody against? Please, Mr. Harstedt.
Thank you so much. I have, as mandated by this assembly, been asked to say a few words about this, supplementary item. First of all, I want to say that we have 2 supplementary items regarding human rights in, amongst others, Belarus on the table today. It's number 5 and it's number 11. And I'm normally fully in support of my neighboring country and my brothers and sisters in Lithuania. But in this situation, I have been working a lot with Belarus these last couple of years, and I must say that these supplementary items have several shortcomings. It doesn't recognize a few of the things that have been progress here in Belarus, and also it has a few things that are actually wrong. We have, for example, the issue of UN Rapporteur, Mr. Harasti, and he is actually in the country right now, here taking part in this event. Issues regarding the civil society, I think we have seen, and I'm working intensively with them. We are seeing certain progress in the work there. There's no question about the shortcomings in this country regarding democracy and human rights. But I think in these supplementary items, it's also mixed with a quite, how to say, intense border situation between Lithuania and Belarus concerning a nuclear power plant. And I think that's a little bit unfortunate. It's a mixture between an intense border conflict between 2 countries, as well as the human rights situation in Belarus. I think we would do best in adopting number 11, where actually human rights situation is addressed without mixing border situation issues. So I would suggest that we will not adopt this supplementary item and rather take that discussion during supplementary item number 11. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Kaskiunas from Lithuania. Please, the floor is yours.
Excuse me, Mr. Sinkevičius is the head of delegation. But nevertheless, dear colleagues, I'm trying to reach those who has respect for freedom of speech, for freedom of human rights, democracy, free elections, and I think that the host nation must be the one showing a great example. Unfortunately, continuing execution in Belarus, continuing application of the death penalty raises barriers for international dialogue. Yes, we proposed a 2-pillar resolution, but I think everyone will agree that nuclear incidents respects no borders, and OSCE just recently had a regard to Chernobyl disaster. Everyone agreed that new nuclear power plant is built not on the border of Lithuania, It's built on the border of the European Union. 29 nations and nations around Belarus. I strongly advise to support our two-pillar resolution, which raises attention and asks for fair dialogue, for open dialogue, for a stress test, and first of all, respect. Respect for the human rights, for dialogue with international community, which we are fighting for many years. Thank you.
Thank you. So we come to the vote. Who is in favor of putting it on the agenda? Thank you. And who is against it? So it is putting it on the agenda. It's 8, and against it is 20. So it's not taken into the agenda. Thank you. We come to the next item: developing a timely and effective legislative, regulatory, and administrative response to the emergence of new psychoactive substances. Are there any objections including it? This is not the case, so it is included into the agenda. Item number 7, multiculturalism, the role of cultural values in the development of democracy and the context of globalization. Are there any objections? This is not the case. The next item number 8, abolition of death penalty. Are there any objections? This is not the case, so it is included. Item number 9, about drinking water, fostering cooperation to protect a scarce resource adversely affected by climate change. Are there any objections? This is not the case, so it is included. Number 10, observation of new voting technologies. Are there any objections? This is not the case, so it is included. We come to item number 11, the situation in Eastern Europe. Are there any objections? There is one, Mr. Kent, please.
I'm not against. I just want to say one word that I think it's extremely important that we discuss the human rights situations in those countries mentioned here in this resolution, including in Belarus. And that is very important that we have a very active and vivid discussions about these shortcomings in democracy and human rights. Thank you.
Anybody else who wants to speak? No, so we go for the vote. Are there any objections to including this item in the agenda of the we have to vote. So who is in favor of putting it on the agenda? Please raise your cards. And who, thank you. And who is against it, of putting it on the agenda? So there are yes 23 votes and no 3 votes. So it is included. We come to the next item, which is with the next supplementary item number 12, strengthening the role of the OSCE in countering terrorism. Are there any objections? This is not the case, so it is included. Number 13, the inadmissibility of discrimination and intolerance with regard to Christians, Muslims, and members of other religions. Are there any objections? This is not the case, so it is included. Number 14, for a coherent, shared, and responsible governance of migration and refugee flows. Are there any objections? This is not the case, so it is included. And number 15, the item on migration. Are there any objections? This is not the case, so it is included. Thank you very much. There is an ask for the floor. Sánchez Amor, please.
Gracias, Presidenta. No me refiero al contenido de los puntos suplementarios, sino al resultado de su asignación en este momento por comisiones. En este momento tenemos 2 asuntos suplementarios en la Comisión 1, 4 en la Comisión 2 y 5 en la Comisión 3. Es verdad que el asunto número 11 del colega Holm tiene algunos aspectos que tienen que ver con derechos humanos, pero también tiene otros aspectos que tienen que ver con soberanía, con seguridad, con el asunto de Crimea. Y, por tanto, yo lo que pediría es si se puede reconsiderar para redistribuir mejor el trabajo entre comisiones, que el asunto número 11, al que se ha referido el colega Kent, pasara a la Comisión 1, de tal manera que quedaran 3 asuntos en la Comisión 1, 4 en la 2 y 4 en la 3. Es una redistribución del trabajo para que sea más equilibrado entre las 3 comisiones.
Thank you very much. There is another question for the floor. Our colleague from Belarus, please. You ask for the floor? No? Okay.
Нет, нет.
So, towards the proposal of Mr. Sánchez Amor, I agree with the proposal. So, if the committee is in favor, doesn't object. Are there any objections? No. So, there is one, Mr. Hasted.
But I think this is mainly about human rights. Wouldn't it be appropriate to have it in the relevant committee? It is about human rights.
Thank you. We
continue now with the vote, and then we'll take a vote.
We continue with that, and then we take a vote on it.
Christine, please.
Nacho, please.
Sí. Yo no. Si es necesario, yo retiro mi propuesta. Es decir, si va a causar algún tipo de problema o necesita una votación, no me parece necesario. Mi opinión era redistribuir el trabajo mejor, porque hay una comisión que va a terminar en un par de horas y otra que tendrá 3 o 4 sesiones, pero no hay ningún problema. Es decir, yo, si va a provocar una votación, prefiero retirar mi propuesta y que se mantenga la distribución tal y como ha quedado tras la retirada del subpunto suplementario de casi unas.
Okay, thank you. So we go on. Where are we going to? So we now come to the decision of the allocation of the supplementary items. In accordance with Rule 21.1, the Standing Committee shall decide by a majority of the votes cast whether to refer a supplementary item to the competent committee or to submit it to the plenary. Are there any objections to the allocation proposed in the list distributed by the International Secretariat? If this... Yes, please, Mr. Neri.
Que le problème de la migration soit inscrit en séance plénière, vu son importance.
It is on the list, it is already set up for the plenary. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Are there any other comments? If this is not the case, so we will proceed to vote on the proposals made to allocate supplementary item. We do, I was just told, we do them all on a list. So are there any objections to it? This is not the case, so they will be allocated as on the list. So now we come to the financial questions report of the Treasurer of the OSCE, Mrs. Doris Barnett. Please, you have the floor.
Vielen Dank, Frau Präsidentin. Dear Mrs. President, members of the Standing Committee, as Treasurer of the Assembly, I would like to start my report here in Minsk by warmly thanking the Parliament of Belarus for the support provided to our organization by hosting this annual session. My gratitude also to all those members of Parliament who have hosted and will host Assembly meetings and events. The Assembly functions in an extremely cost-effective way, but we need the continuous support and solidarity of national delegations to ensure that the Assembly can continue its program of activities and meetings. I call on those delegations who have not yet hosted a meeting of the Assembly, please to do that soon. I'm pleased to report that to the Standing Committee that the finances of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly continue to be in a very good order. In accordance with our rules of procedure, I presented the audited accounts to this committee in Vienna this February. I was very satisfied that the Assembly received a positive assessment from our outside independent professional auditor once again. Our auditor continues to be satisfied with the financial procedures and accountability carried out in our Secretariat. The OSCE, attached to this report, you will find my proposal for the Assembly's budget for the next financial year, which will start on 1st October this year and will run until 30 September next year. This proposal has been thoroughly prepared together with the Secretary General and his team in order to reflect the minimum basic needs of the Assembly, and the Bureau at its last meeting held in Copenhagen unanimously supported it. This proposed draft budget, in accordance with our rules of procedure, was distributed to the Standing Committee last June, giving our Europe ample time to review. In this period, I have received no comments or questions from members about my proposal. The Secretary General and I have ensured that our budget complies with and reflects the effort of our national legislatures to minimize expenses and remain within our objectives of austerity and accountability in the use of our taxpayers' money. As you can see, compared to previous years, the proposed budget is presented in a new, very clearly outlined format with the various items clearly defined. While the structural changes have resulted in some category changing, my overall proposal is to leave the budget almost as it is, with no significant increases, with just a minor adjustment of 2% related to an increase of 65,000 euros in the total budget. This adjustment relates to partially to increases of dependent or education allowances because the staff has newborns, as well as adjustment of a research assistant program in order to comply with Danish law. Expenses in all categories include salaries, travels, other meetings, publicity, and other categories will remain basically at the same level as in the current year. For your information, the current budget of 2016-17 is also attached, so you can compare the figures. I hope that you have also all had an opportunity to consider the draft financial regulation circulated by our Secretary General. I have reviewed this document on several occasions over the past half year and believe that it is both an important and useful step for our Assembly to agree on this. I believe that they strike the right balance of flexibility while at the same time providing a reasonable framework within which our Secretariat must work. With clear lines of authority specified, I think that we can all be confident that our resources will continue to be used effectively and with clarity, that the Standing Committee designate an auditor who will have an additional level of independent accountability guaranteed. I hope that you will agree to support this document as distributed. The list of national contributions for the fiscal year that started 1st October last year and will conclude on 30 September this year is attached. As you can see, we have received almost 100% of our annual budget. In accordance with Rule 41, Paragraph 4 of our Rules of Procedure, national contributors to the budget of the Parliamentary Assembly shall be appointed according to the formula used to divide the cost of the intergovernmental OSCE. In December 2015, the Permanent Council of the OSCE adopted the scales of contribution for the period 2016 to 2017, which remain unchanged from previous years. Our annual budget will therefore be appointed accordingly among national delegations. I welcome the ongoing process to suggest improvements to our system of contributions, but until we reach a consensus to amend our rules of procedure, we will continue implementing the current system. It is important that national delegations contribute to support the Assembly. This can be done by, first, seconding personnel. We are very grateful to the Italian government for their support in currently seconding 2 full-time staff members to our Secretariat. Or you can host Assembly meetings and events. Again, we are very grateful to the German Parliament for hosting our session next year, and Kyrgyzstan, the autumn meeting next year. Or you can put extra budgetary contributions for specific events, election observation, and other seminars or conferences of interest to the OSCE EPA and its members, as Germany does, to host the Lionsweiler seminar. I am at your entire disposal to discuss any proposal you may have to enhance the work of the Parliamentary Assembly. Let me please conclude my report by congratulating our Secretary General, Mr. Roberto Montella, for his efforts in making this contribution, this institution so efficient in such a transparent and accountable and cost-effective way. Of course, I cannot and shall not forget Gustavo Palares, my very good friend and helper, by putting the figures together, and of course Kurt Laras, who is still with the office, but I think he's leaving the office. No? He's still with us. He's still with us, yeah. And of course, without all those people, we can't really work as well as we do. And please give them a big hand. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Doris, and thank you very much, and thank you, helpers as well. There are 2 comments so far. Mr. Farrell from Ireland.
Thank you very much, Madam President and Representative Barnett, for the work that's been done. I think it's important to note the transparent manner in which these accounts are being filed. They mark what I would consider to be a remarkable change from that which I was greeted with in 2013 when I became a member of this Assembly. So I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Montella, and indeed for the work of your office, Representative Barnett, and indeed Mr. Polaris and others for the transparent and open manner in which these accounts are being presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neri, please, you have the floor.
Oui, Madame la Présidente, merci. C'est avec satisfaction que nous constatons que le budget de notre Assemblée parlementaire de l'OSCE est un budget en équilibre, qui nous permet effectivement de réaliser un certain nombre d'actions qui sont très importantes pour ce qui est le fondement même de l'OSCE et de son Assemblée parlementaire. Excusez-moi, mais je suis quand même encore une fois stupéfait. Stupéfait de la lecture des cotisations. Depuis le temps que l'on parle d'un réajustement du montant des cotisations qui prennent en compte la réalité des capacités de financement des différents pays. Alors j'ai l'impression, en lisant ce texte, que je suis en train de lire un conte pour enfants que l'on connaît bien en France, qui s'appelle Barbe Bleue, que l'on doit à Charles Perrault, et dans laquelle on dit « Sœur Anne, ne vois-tu rien venir ?» Eh bien, nous sommes comme Sœur Anne, nous ne voyons rien venir. Et je dirais que c'est absolument scandaleux quand je vois les cotisations homéopathiques. Alors moi, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour les traitements homéopathiques, mais je crois que dans certains cas, il vaut mieux un traitement chirurgical. C'est beaucoup plus efficace. Or, ce traitement chirurgical, nous ne le voyons pas venir et nous sombrons d'année en année dans une, non pas inégalité, mais un manque d'équité entre les cotisations des uns et des autres. Je le disais sous forme de boutade, je ne pense pas que la commune de Borga-l'Évêque, dont je suis le maire en France, et ses 1500 habitants aient les mêmes capacités de financement, par exemple, au hasard, que l'Azerbaïdjan. Et pourtant, c'est à peu près la cotisation de l'Azerbaïdjan à l'Assemblée parlementaire de l'OSCE, c'est le montant que mon conseil municipal donne à notre club de football. Donc, je crois, Madame la Présidente, que je vais solliciter à titre exceptionnel l'adhésion de ma commune à l'Assemblée parlementaire de l'OSCE, parce que nous serons largement en capacité d'apporter le même financement. Non, je crois qu'il est temps que, sérieusement, on revoie cette grille. L'an dernier, il y a déjà eu une réunion à Vienne avec l'ensemble des délégations parlementaires et l'ensemble des représentants des États de l'OSCE qui devaient trouver une solution. Moi, je dis très tranquillement que ça ne peut plus durer et qu'à certains moments, la représentativité de certains est en question. Quand je vois que la composition du bureau de notre Assemblée parlementaire et où les représentants des pays qui cotisent d'une façon homéopathique se partagent d'une façon hégémonique les postes au bureau de notre Assemblée, je considère qu'il y a quelque chose qui tourne plus rond sur la planète. Alors, je souhaiterais déposer un vœu demandant que d'ici la fin de l'année et pour le prochain budget, on ait un nouveau tableau qui tienne compte des produits intérieurs bruts des différents pays et de leur population. Il s'agit de l'équité à défaut d'égalité. C'est aussi, je crois, une mesure de justice et nous sommes les uns les autres pour la justice et pour le traitement équitable des différents pays dans le respect de leurs droits. Il suffit de parler, maintenant passons aux actes.
Thank you very much. Doris, please.
Ich glaube, niemand wäre glücklicher als ich, wenn wir Abgeordnete den Schlüssel ändern dürften. Aber wir dürfen ihn nicht ändern. Der Schlüssel wird festgelegt vom Ministerrat. Die Länder einigen sich darauf. Und deswegen können wir hier uns noch so ärgern und sagen, das kann doch nicht sein, dass das reiche Aserbaidschan, Asei, dass ich jetzt dein Land nehme, gerade 1.500 € zu bezahlen hat. Aber das kommt aus Tagen, als es Aserbaidschan wirklich nicht besonders gut ging. Und der Schlüssel ist halt so, wie er ist. Und es ist schwierig, von unserer Seite aus ihn zu verändern. Deswegen, ich möchte nochmal darauf aufmerksam machen, abgesehen von den jährlichen Zahlungen, die prozentual festgelegt sind, darf man unserer Organisation gerne Geld geben oder uns gerne unterstützen. Ich wiederhole es noch einmal. Zum Beispiel können hier Leute abgestellt werden, das heißt sekundiert werden, so wie Italien es macht mit 2 Leuten. Das ist richtig viel Geld, was wir dann nicht auszugeben haben. Das könnte Aserbaidschan auch oder andere Länder auch. Oder sie können, wie Belarus jetzt, eine solche Veranstaltung ausrichten, die ja nicht gerade billig ist, die fast so viel verschlingt wie ein ganzes Jahresbudget von uns. Ich weiß das, weil wir das nächste Jahr organisieren. Ich weiß, wie viel Geld wir da reden. Oder die Länder können auch mal ohne Vorbedingung Geld für Seminare, für sonst Fortbildungsveranstaltungen der Organisation spendieren oder einfach überweisen und sagen, ihr braucht ja das Geld, ihr braucht mehr, ihr müsst zu mehreren oder noch mehr Wahlbeobachtungen gehen oder ihr wollt ein Seminar machen. So kann das geschehen. Aber an dem Schlüssel selbst können wir nichts ändern. Deswegen kann ich immer nur wiederholen, was ich vorhin schon gesagt habe. Es gibt noch andere Möglichkeiten, uns zu unterstützen. Aber den Frust von Alain Nery, den verstehe ich sehr wohl.
Thank you. Thank you, Doris. Thank you also for your suggestions. I think they're very important. Yes, please, Roberto.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just wanted to thank those who took the floor to appreciate the work we've done in the Secretariat. Thank you very much, Mr. Farah. Indeed, we've tried to be as transparent as possible and try to give back the ownership of this process also to the members. We are here to serve you. I take note of Mr. Alain Nery battle. I mean, I know this is something that you have very much at your heart. I know that you do it in the interest of the Assembly and in the interest of the Secretariat. So I take note of that. You know what are the difficulties. Ms. Barnett has explained them very well. We are following the scale of contribution of the governments, and we do not have in our possibility, unless we change our own rules of procedure by consensus, a possibility to change that. But I take your point to set up a table to keep on studying this. We will keep this as an ongoing issue in our Assembly, but thank you very much for your contribution. I think now it's time to get the budget approved. Thank you.
Mr. Nery, you have the floor. You take the floor.
Oui, et simplement un mot, Madame la Présidente, pour dire que les vœux pieux, on peut effectivement demander aux gens, allez, faites un effort. Mais vous savez, moi je crois beaucoup plus à la justice qu'à la charité. Et je suis tout à fait contre la mendicité. Or, quand on dit, eh bien, écoutez, faites un petit geste, on avait déjà voté en son temps une résolution avec notre ami Batelli, qui disait, faites un geste pour qu'il n'y ait pas de cotisation inférieure à 10 000 euros. J'ai pas vu beaucoup des pays concernés mettre la main à la poche. Et pendant ce temps-là, je crois qu'on peut rappeler les choses au gouvernement, à l'Assemblée de l'OSCE, parce qu'on aura l'occasion d'en reparler. Mais on a des moyens pour travailler, mais pas suffisamment. À preuve, nous venons d'apprendre, avec beaucoup d'inquiétude et beaucoup de regrets, la fermeture du bureau de l'OSCE à Erevan, en Arménie, pour les problèmes du Caucase du Sud. Et s'il y a un endroit où il y a un certain nombre de problèmes qui se posent avec beaucoup d'acuité et avec beaucoup de dangerosité pour la région OSCE, c'est bien là. Donc je crois qu'il faudrait non seulement faire preuve de sentiment d'égalité et de justice, mais peut-être faire preuve d'un peu de bon sens en dégageant des priorités qui correspondent aux priorités, malheureusement, que nous vivons.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neri, for your words. I think it's very important that we keep on sticking to this item, and that we really have to ask our countries to contribute more and to change the rules. But for now, we have to decide on the budget for 2017 to 2018. So we have to come to your approval. If you approve, does the Standing Committee accordingly approve the budget for the financial year from the 1st of October 2017 to the 30th September 2018? This is the case. Thank you. The budget will be made available to the Assembly in accordance with paragraph 2 of Rule 41 of the Rules of Procedure. I now ask the Standing Committee to endorse the financial regulations proposed by the International Secretariat, which were anonymously endorsed by the Bureau at our last meeting in April. This is the case. Thank you very much. We now continue with item number 5, which are the reports and the informations of activities of the Assembly. So we come to the election observation missions and the reports from the ad hoc committees as well, and from the special representatives. The time is short, so I really would ask you to be short, to a maximum 3 minutes to each contributor. So, Mr. Sanchez Amor, Special Coordinator and Leader of the short-term OSCE Observer Mission to the elections in Armenia, you have the floor.
Gracias, Cristina. Gracias por la confianza para ese nombramiento como coordinador especial para las elecciones armenias del 2 de abril. Debo decir que estuve excelentemente acompañado por el colega Geir Jorgen Bekkevold y por los miembros del Consejo de Europa y del Parlamento Europeo, por el equipo de ODIHR, con el que hubo unas excelentes relaciones de trabajo, y perfectamente cubierto por Irina Shabashuk y por Loïc Poulin. No voy a relatar las visitas que hicimos, quiero centrarme en 2 asuntos que me parecen políticamente más importantes. Se produjo otra vez un caso de tener que expulsar a un miembro de la delegación parlamentaria de la misión electoral, porque ese miembro era del Parlamento Europeo, no afectaba a nuestra delegación OSCE, había realizado acciones de campaña semanas antes en el país. Es la segunda vez que me sucede, está siendo cada vez más frecuente, y el mensaje que yo quise dar a nuestros colegas parlamentarios es: venimos a observar elecciones, pero estamos siendo observados. Cada vez hay un escrutinio más cercano de nuestra actividad en las funciones de monitoring electoral, y creo que todos tenemos que ser conscientes de que el asunto empieza a alcanzar, digamos, un nivel preocupante. Por tanto, seamos conscientes en las misiones electorales que conservar la integridad y la neutralidad de nuestras misiones electorales es esencial. Segundo asunto político. 2 días antes de las elecciones, algunas embajadas de países miembros de la Unión Europea y de la OSCE hicieron declaraciones públicas sobre la campaña. Y esas declaraciones públicas de las embajadas condicionaron la posición de nuestros colegas, por ejemplo, del Parlamento Europeo, y debo decir que tuve una conversación cordial, pero no precisamente amistosa, con el embajador de la Unión Europea en Armenia, porque quienes tenemos 400 personas sobre el territorio para saber qué pasa en una campaña somos nosotros. Es la misión internacional de observación electoral y no las embajadas. Y pude ver cómo algunos colegas de nuestra delegación vieron condicionadas sus posiciones por las posiciones previas tomadas por sus embajadas. En relación con las elecciones, debo decir que fueron bien administradas, que se respetaron los derechos fundamentales, que hay un exceso de nuevas tecnologías que no parece que esté llevando a un aumento de la confianza de los electores en las elecciones, porque a pesar de que hay un marco electoral y legal suficiente y hay una voluntad del Gobierno de conducir las reformas, las prácticas de los partidos son sencillamente horribles. Compra de votos, venta de votos, presión sobre el electorado, mal uso de los recursos administrativos, y yo creo que es verdad que las reformas no suceden tan rápidamente, pero hay que acompañar no solo con reformas legales, sino cambios en la práctica diaria de los partidos políticos. Por tanto, quería solamente notar, como ha dicho el colega Nari, que tuvimos una visita a la misión de la OSCE en Yerevan, que pocas semanas después de nuestra visita lamentablemente ha sido cerrada. Nada más por mi parte. Muchas gracias, Cristina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next is Mr. Patelli, please. I just want to remember you all for the time, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Our international election observation mission was made up of the OSCE, meaning the ODIHR and us, the Council of Europe's Parliamentary Assembly, and the European Parliament, altogether 300 observers. Our delegation, which was led by Marietta Tidei, counted 34 observers. The elections took place following a political agreement concluded on May the 18th, 2 days after I had talks with the leading contestants between the leaders of the Socialist Party and the Democratic Party. The outgoing government, after international mediation, made significant concessions to the opposition, which had been blocking parliament and threatened to make the elections impossible. The resulting agreement had been largely welcomed internationally and also nationally. As a consequence of the agreement, the country's authorities and the election administration did their job under very difficult circumstances. Although some rumors and media reports would have liked to create a different impression, the election day was in fact much less heated than the weather. We summarized our preliminary conclusions as follows. Electoral contestants were able to campaign freely and fundamental freedoms were respected. At the same time, the implementation of the political agreement created challenges for the election administration and resulted in a selective and inconsistent application of the law. During an overall orderly election day, in a significant number of voting centers observed, important procedures were not fully respected. Concerns were noted about possible intimidation by groups of party activists in and around voting centers. The counting process was delayed in many areas. The legal framework in place in the country provides an adequate basis for the conduct of democratic elections, even though many prior recommendations of our institution were not addressed. The campaign presented a variety of political options. Fundamental freedoms of assembly and expression were respected. At the same time, it was characterized by widespread allegations of vote buying, concerns over misuse of state resources, and workplace-related pressures on voters, which further reduced public trust. So far, some highlights from our joint conclusions. My personal conclusion is this. The 18th of May agreement was important and crucial in order to make an election in which all major parties participated possible. It also created high expectations regarding major improvements in the conduct of the elections and do away with some long-standing issues. I am therefore disappointed that many of them, and in particular the climate of distrust and perceived pressure, persisted also through these elections as a result of the grip that political parties have on the country and its institutions. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you very much. The next is Mr. Piki on the presidential election in Mongolia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was pleased to serve as special coordinator for the Mongolian presidential election held on 26th of June. Our mission was a joint effort of our OSCE EPA delegation headed by my friend Georgios Paremenos, our friend of the European Parliament, and of course the ODIHR, who we have to praise for the great support and for the great effort for having a professional assessment of these elections. In total, on election day, 66 observers were deployed from 30 different countries. It was our first OSCE monitoring mission to Mongolia, so it was a good and important task that we were facing. Overall, our conclusion was that elections was competitive and well organizing, featuring a short yet fierce campaign. The freedoms of assembly and expression were generally respected. However, the protracted resolution of complaints as well as pending court cases led to uncertainty regarding candidacy. My time in Mongolia, I saw the will to conduct good elections, and on election day we could see and we could touch that will to have good election. 3 candidates ran in what turned to be a dynamic and at times even harsh campaign. However, we faced a very odd situation. Overly long deadlines for deciding on election-related complaints compromised the right to effective legal remedy, which resulted in ongoing litigation and confusion regarding candidacy. The end result was that up to and on election day, it was unclear if we would have 2 or 3 candidates running for office. As a politician, having run in many elections, I see this as a real problem. As observers, who had observed numerous elections, we were impressed by how technologies were put to good use in polling stations, enabling Mongolians to freely choose their next president. However, we were somehow disappointed to see that the General Election Commission released only summary results and not detailed results for each polling station. The second round of election is scheduled for 9th of July, in 4 days' time from now. Our ODIHR colleagues will be on the ground and will continue to monitor the election process. Finally, let me praise all the staff of the International Secretariat that was very helpful and professional in assisting my duty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please note that our Assembly plans to observing parliamentary elections in Germany on the 24th of September and the presidential election in Kyrgyzstan on the 15th of October. The Secretariat will circulate information on these observation missions in due time. Please, there is the colleague from Kyrgyzstan asking for the floor.
Спасибо. Здравствуйте, уважаемые коллеги, уважаемые друзья. Хочу выразить признательность белорусской стороне, нашим коллегам за столь теплый прием и всем участникам и также нашим гостям. Хотелось бы, вот как вы выше заметили, 15 октября у нас 2017 года ожидаются президентские выборы Кыргызстана. Пользуясь случаем, хотели бы пригласить наших коллег по ОБСЕ проследить за этими выборами. До этого у вас тоже был опыт, потому что в 2015 году, когда проводились парламентские выборы, наши коллеги тоже из ОБСЕ были свидетелями, что эти выборы у нас в Кыргызстане прошли прозрачно, открыто, демократично. На сегодняшний день в этом направлении тоже ожидается очень такой хороший, тщательный подход к этим выборам, чтобы они максимально были прозрачными, чистыми. И, пользуясь случаем, хотелось бы пригласить наших коллег участвовать, быть наблюдателями, свидетелями этого выборного процесса. Большое спасибо.
Thank you very much for this invitation. Also, our colleague from Armenia, please.
Thank you, dear colleagues. I welcome all of you on the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly summer session. This is my first time on the OSCE meeting. I'm glad for this opportunity to work together. Let me inform you that the Republic of Armenia is represented by a new delegation. I am a representative of the parliamentary majority, and my two colleagues are the representatives of opposition parties. We're going to contribute our best efforts to the works of OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, especially in such a difficult time. A few words about my country. As you know, Armenia made a shift from presidential to parliamentary system of governance. We stepped up a big and very important process of constitutional reforms, which were adopted by referendum in December 2015. The electoral system has been changed significantly. Electoral code was the most debated document. The process of its elaboration progressed in a spirit cooperation between all interested political forces under an exceptional format of collaboration with equal participation of authorities, opposition and civil society sector. Holding of free and fair elections was the top priority for our authorities. As a representative of ruling coalition, I assure you that the key priority for us were the due course and legitimacy, which are much more important than the results. Recent general elections under the new realities were an important test for the whole political system and for society of Armenia. I express our gratitude to all partners, international observers, observation team of the Parliamentary Assembly led by Mr. Sanchez Amor, who contributed to the monitoring of the elections, for carrying out such an important mission. Their findings and recommendations are really important to us. The path of reform is our choice, and we are committed to be consistent in this issue. It is not merely done for positive feedback of international partners, but for the stable and sustainable development of our country. Indeed, with respect to the executive side of the OSCE, we are witnessing some challenges. We share the concern raised by the distinguished chairman of our assembly, Ms. Mutonen, and Mr. Neri, regarding the situation of the field missions of the OSCE in several OSCE member states, and particularly
we have to stick to the time. Please remember the time.
Not to extend the mandate of the OSCE office in Armenia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome to our assembly. We now come to the next point, the ad hoc committees and special representatives. As I briefly touched upon in my report, our conference on parliamentary cooperation in anti-terrorism held in St. Petersburg in March displayed an unprecedented interest in the OSCE parliamentarians, as well as experts from the international community at large. I have grown increasingly convinced that if we are able to be faithful to mainstream sentiments and mainstream expectations stemming from our societies, we must systemize our cooperation with a view to have the OSCE lend an effective contribution in the fight against terrorism. As a first step, I would therefore like to propose that we establish an ad hoc committee on terrorism that can lead the Parliamentary Assembly of the OSCE work in the field, as well as serve as a dedicated platform for policy making. Addressing terrorism requires input from all three OSCE dimensions, and I hope you will agree with me that such an ad hoc committee is the best way to ensure that our work effectively draws on expertise from the political, security, economic, technology and human rights fields. According to Rule 35 of the Rules of Procedure, decisions in the Standing Committee shall be taken according to the principle of consensus -1. Does anyone oppose the creation of an ad hoc committee on anti-terrorism? This is not the case, so it is done as proposed. I will now ask the chairs of the ad hoc committees and working groups to report on their activities. Note that I have decided to revitalize our ad hoc committee on strengthening OSCE engagement through transparency and reform, formerly known as the Ad hoc Committee on Transparency and Reform of the OSCE. I have asked Vice President Lord Peter Barnes to chair this ad hoc committee, which will monitor the implementation of the 2001 resolution on strengthening transparency and accountability in the OSCE and subsequent reform proposals of the Assembly. I will use this week in Minsk to undertake consultation on how best to use this tool for the benefit of the Assembly. I now ask Mr. Kent Harstead, Chair of the Ad hoc Working Group on Belarus, if he wishes to take the floor. Yes, please, you have the floor. Please watch the time.
Yes, I will be very short. First of all, I am, of course, pleased that we are able to have this summer session here in Belarus. I think this in itself has meant that we are working with the Belarusian side regarding issues relating to openness and human rights and also democracy, because when this meeting is at this point taking part here, I think this is one of the biggest democratic event concerning an international meeting that has taken place in this country ever, actually. I know the Belarusian side also have, as of now, until now, and I hope all throughout this event, also lived up to their promises to let people come here to this event, and also to let us invite people from the civil society. There has been several things taking place in the vicinity of this meeting. There has been a civil society meeting just yesterday, which took place without any hindrance or any problems. And in my capacity, I'm arranging a seminar on human rights here in Belarus that will take place in the round hall room 12:30 to 14 on the 6th of July. That's Thursday. And I would like really to invite you to this. It will be a full room, so you need to be there early if you want to take part. It is actually a little bit historic also, because at this meeting we will have the UN rapporteur on Belarus, which haven't been able to be in this country for 6 years. But it will also be having representatives of the opposition, but also of the government side. So I think this is a fully transparent, open, and very exciting event. And I think this also proves the willingness of the Belarusian side to actually engage and be involved. So I all welcome you. Your secretariat should get the invitations for this event, and this is part of my work for the Assembly in regard to engaging with the Belarusian side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this is very important that we have all this meeting here in Minsk. Thank you also to our colleagues from the Belarusian Parliament to help us to organize this. Now we come to the chair of the parliamentary team on Moldova, Mrs. Artadade. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, dear colleagues. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to report on the work of the parliamentary team on Moldova since our last winter meeting in February. In Vienna, I noted that the electoral campaigns had put a hiatus on our activities in the second half of 2016. Since then, I undertook a 3-day visit to Chisinau and Tiraspol at the end of March to connect with each side's new leadership. A written report drawing some conclusions from our 2-year engagement for Moldova and offering guidance for the future has been made available. I will share with you some of the highlights. Looking 2 years back, I know that the parliamentary team on Moldova was reinvigorated at an opportune time. After years in limbo, the international community united under the German and Austrian OSCE chairmanship to refocus on the Transnistrian issue. Our team's visit in June 2016 and March 2017 and the resolution adopted in July 2016 were a small contribution to the international community's united approach to Moldova. This in turn has shown to our partners in Chisinau and Tiraspol that political will can challenge the status quo. The output-based approach to the settlement negotiations driven by the OSCE mission to Moldova and enshrined in a Ministerial Council statement in Hamburg has achieved limited results to date, but there is reason to believe a breakthrough could happen if the sides demonstrate sufficient political will. Finding agreements on practical issues is essential to creating the conditions for a broader settlement, but not only. By solving problems that affect the daily lives of the people on both sides of the Dniester River, it helps them realize that their futures are linked and they share the same reality. It underscores the fact that Transnistrian settlement, with respect for Moldova's territorial integrity and sovereignty and special status for Transnistria within the Republic of Moldova, is not the best solution because the international community says so, but because it is the only one that can promote a prosperous future for all Moldovans and greater stability for the region. The new political reality in Chisinau and Tiraspol has increased the chances of a successful mediation through internal consolidation. And with no elections scheduled this year, 2017 represents a great window of opportunity to achieve substantial progress without political distraction. However, we are now halfway through the year and progress is overdue. Moldova has made some efforts to promote a tolerant and inclusive society, yet steady implementation is essential to demonstrate that Chisinau is willing to create the conditions for reintegration, and public statements must be followed by action to ensure the continued impact of these policies. Clarifying the Gagauz autonomy is especially important in the context of Transnistrian settlement process, as it provides a clear example of what a special status could look like and offers a blueprint for cooperation between the state and autonomous region. Recently, Chisinau has formulated a long-awaited vision for the Transnistrian region. This is a welcome development that will help guide each step in the settlement process.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Please watch the time. Thank you.
Sorry, but dear Madam President, it's my last participation, and if you allow me just to have some words of thanks.
Please continue. Thank you.
Within the Republic of Moldova could satisfy their people's needs and guarantee their rights. For the past several months, stakeholders in Chisinau and Tiraspol have put forward the desire to achieve an agreement and the so-called package of aid. Such a deal would produce immediate, palpable results for people on both sides. A closer involvement of parliamentarians and legislators would appropriate the process not out of a desire to interfere with the work of the expert negotiators, but in order to convince citizens that the solutions identified are also theirs. Such a feeling of ownership will be essential for the success of the international efforts in Moldova. As long as it's my last participation, I wish to thank all my colleagues of the team on Moldova for the job done, and I encourage them to continue with this commitment. And a special word of thanks goes for the International Secretariat, and especially for Loic Pollen, who was responsible for Moldova. And having said that, dear Madam President, I thank you and all the former President for the excellent cooperation. I thank the Secretary General for the cooperation with the Albanian delegation, and I wish all the colleagues in this organization all the very best for the commitments that time in these 13 years of my engagement in the organization has dictated on this organization. Of course, I will continue to be part of all this engagement through my other responsibilities, be it political or diplomatic. Thank you very much for this experience. I really shared 13 years in this organization. It has been a brilliant experience. It has been constructive debate, and we have brought our peoples and countries closer within the area of OSCE. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for a report, which was very interesting for us, but we are not glad about the bad news. That you will leave the Assembly, because we very, very much appreciated your work, and we really thank you for that. And I hope we all will keep in close contact with you wherever your political work will lead you. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Lombardi. He will speak on, he's the chair of the Ad Hoc Committee on Migration. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. Our ad hoc committee is a very dynamic one. In only 15 months, it had visits, field visits in refugees plants in France, Italy, Greece, and Turkey. We have 21 members from 17 countries. We visited as well institutions dealing with the question, the European Commission in Brussels, the UNHCR, ICRC and IOM in Geneva, and we had 6 meetings of the committee. It's no use of reading you the written report you can find and have in your papers. I just would like to say that we are introducing for the consideration of plenary meeting a supplementary item which I sponsored, but not on behalf of my country, but on behalf of this ad hoc committee, is the item, the supplementary item for a coherent, shared and responsible management of migration and refugees flows. 3 highlights of our work. First of all, the issue is ongoing. It's a growing problem. In Vienna, reporting to your standing committee, I warned that the problem is not over, even if media and public opinion tend to forget it, because there are other news, there are terrorist attacks, there are different problems coming up, but the migration issues is not at all solved. And as you can see, as we can see, a few months later, in Italy, we are reaching a total historical record of number of migrants, as well, unfortunately, in the Mediterranean, probably this year, a record number of victims, deaths, violences, minor trafficking development, and so on. This is the first highlight. The second is that we still have an insufficient coordination and the shared responsibility of the international community, the international organizations, and many countries. The Dublin regulation is not working in the European Union. The reallocation, resettlement regulation is not working either. And we have only one weapon here as Parliamentary Assembly, is to recommend to our governments to implement the decisions of the Ministerial Council of last December in Hamburg. There are good decisions, but we have to implement them, and this is our word. And finally, let's just say that the situation is very different in different countries. In Turkey, we have seen a country which has been able to cope with this question in a very efficient and generous way. In Greece, the problem is not so acute anymore as it was, but still communities, local communities are waiting for the international support and finances which were said, which were promised and not yet arrived. In Italy, as I said, the problem is this year very crucial, which will be the priority for our community, or for our committee also in the coming months, as we will go on working on the Italian situation and the problems all over Europe. Some of our members think that it's not enough to call upon moral responsibility and voluntary participation of the states in solving this question. It should be somehow possible at a certain moment to arrive to binding obligations of participating states, also of the OSCE. But this is musique d'avenir. We need to work on this for a long time again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Groscha from Turkey, who asked for the floor. Please.
I thank Mr. Lombardi for his tireless work during 1.5 years together with all committee members. I also welcome his report and remarks today. It was a pleasure for us to host committee members in Turkey, headed by dear Madame Santos. Turkey has been at the forefront of the migration crisis with the beginning of the Syrian crisis in 2011. It's already briefly referred to in Mr. Lombard's report as well, but I would like to provide some facts and figures. The number of refugees hosted by Turkey reached 2.3 million, including 3 million Syrians. As such, Turkey hosts the largest refugee population of the world. We provide Syrians with accommodation, food items, as well as medical, education, and psychosocial services. Syrians also have the right to work in Turkey. Since the last 6 years, more than 20 million healthcare services have been provided. 1 million Syrians received inpatient treatment, and nearly 850,000 surgeries carried out. For all these efforts, Turkey has sent almost 26 billion US dollars, not million, $billion. Whereas the total contribution we received from the international community is just $526 million and far from our expectations. The Syrian humanitarian crisis is a global phenomenon. Equitable and meaningful burden and responsibility sharing is necessary, not only providing financial assistance to host countries, but also resettlement and addressing the root cause of irregular migration are the vital importance of shared responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your statement. I will now ask the special representatives to report on their activities. Please note that Ms. Hedy Fry, the special representative on gender issues, will report to our plenary. Please note that I strongly encourage all special representatives to regularly report on their activities in writing, so we can all follow their work closely without the time limitations imposed by the length of the standing committee meetings. Now I ask the President Emeritus, Mr. Ilkka Kanerva. He is the Special Representative on Mediation. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, our dear President, dear friends. All of us, of course, we very easily recognize the need of the mediation activities in various ways. So I don't concentrate and focus my report on those issues or conflicts, but just to mention a few items what to do in this capacity. And firstly, I want to mention that how important it is to strengthen the BA's preparedness for mediation and how to facilitate dialogue in our area. So our preparedness is absolutely one of the key issues, and another one is at the same time Parliamentary Assembly's cooperation with other relevant dimensions, governmental side, executive sides of our organization, as well as liaison with other relevant international organizations. So we know that our area, our OSCE area today is undergoing very multiple changes and challenges. And ongoing crisis in our area means that our values are challenged. And it means that all the instruments we can imagine and produce are in a vital role in various ways. So PA itself is an excellent platform for mediation, and we have some potential possibilities to improve our performance in this way, cooperating between, for example, special representatives and ad hoc groups. We have already some positive examples of this. One invaluable strength of the PA in mediation is our internal early warning mechanism with our more than 300 members of the Parliamentary Assembly. I can enhance Assembly's mediation preparedness by increasing our common understanding on mediation. One of the examples I want to mention is that I hosted a side event on human security dimension on peace mediation in Vienna last winter. I was very delighted to notice that how important it was for obvious reasons. I have attended various mediation-related conferences which serve as an excellent venue for in-depth discussions about the challenges and opportunities of mediation today. It is that by sharing our views, our values, it is possible to develop mediation practices in various ways. Then I have to mention that it has been very fruitful to take part in the work of the Friends of Mediation Group on governmental level, and I'm encouraged also to consider discussions with the OSCE ambassadors and ministers as an important channel to look for various synergies in our working. Then I want to mention that I have also invited the OSCE field operations and the OSCE Secretariat to make use of our service when seen needed in our activities. Additionally, I have pursued regular contacts with relevant partners within the OSCE as well as with other relevant international organizations, UN to mention, Council of Europe as well, and of course European Union and CMI. For my part, I want to use the opportunity and commend the valuable work of the Secretary General Montella
in further strengthening the Assembly's interaction with other structures within the OSCE. And then, Madam President, very important, I want to underline, then in order to make mediation efforts more sustainable and efficient, it is very important further promote gender equality in mediation activities. And I would like to thank Heidi Fry for her excellent work on this important topic, and as well Mrs. Sederfeld for raising women in peace building as one of the main topics on the committee's report as well. I want to conclude my address by expressing appreciation for the work of the OSCE PA leadership and for the OSCE PA Secretariat, both in Copenhagen and Vienna. Your support is very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We very much appreciate, of course, the work of mediation and, of course, what you mentioned, the gender balance. Thank you. We come to the next special representative on anti-terrorism. Mr. Kovalev, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель, уважаемые коллеги. Предусматривался отчет. Я сейчас думаю, не время подробным образом рассказывать о работе. Я представлю в секретариат подробнейший отчет о проделанной работе за это время. Он содержит в себе 14 страниц. Все, кто интересуется этой темой, смогут подробнейшим образом ознакомиться с отчетом. А сейчас, уважаемая госпожа президент, уважаемые коллеги, я хотел бы поделиться с вами некоторыми размышлениями об особой теме борьбы с терроризмом. Я говорю об ущербе от террористических атак, физическом, психическом и материальном. Результаты давления террористов на мировое сообщество на самом деле, конечно же, впечатляют, к сожалению. С 2000 года по настоящее время по всей планете в моменты террора мученически лишили жизни не менее 170 тысяч людей. И не менее 300 тысяч получили ранения разной степени тяжести, после чего неизвестная доля потерпевших от ран, несовместимых с жизнью, также умерли. Сведения о понесенном физическом ущербе разрозненно хранятся в архивах национальных ведомств. И никто их воедино никогда не сводил и не пытался. Если говорить о количестве людей, которые испытали психические травмы, они вообще не поддаются точной статистике. После соприкосновения с террором эта виктимная среда исчисляется сотнями миллионов. Денежные затраты в этой сфере общественных отношений. Публикуются впечатляющие цифры доходов, добываемых наркотрафиком, подпольным и горным бизнесом, незаконной торговлей оружием, проституцией и так далее. Все они зашкаливают за 2 триллиона евро. Но мы не должны забывать, что дивидендные ожидания вдохновителей экспансии террора куда масштабнее. Экономическая оккупация всех континентов, включая Арктику. А вот ущерб, какой материальный ущерб наносится их преступной деятельностью населению планеты, экономике и финансам многополярного мира, сводные сведения на этот счет, как и в ситуации с ущербом физическим и психическим, остаются пока за гранью достоверных расчетов. Кстати, пожалуй, исключение составляют лишь исследования Австралийского института экономики и мира. Его эксперты рассчитали глобальный ущерб от терроризма 89,6 миллиарда долларов только за 2015 год. Мне же эта цифра представляется заниженной. Она требует обоснованной корреляции в сторону кратного увеличения. Только в Брюсселе ущерб от теракта, совершенного 22 марта 2016 года, определен в сумме 2,5 миллиарда евро. Уважаемые коллеги, настала пора внести международную ясность в поднятый вопрос, а именно, какой физический, психический и материальный ущерб терпят государства, члены парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ. Предпосылки к его успешному разрешению наконец появились. Меньше месяца назад, 19 июня, ее превосходительство Кристине Мутонин, наш президент, в письме, направленном депутатам Ассамблеи, в очередной раз выразила острое беспокойство нарастающим валом террористических атак. В этой связи ее превосходительство внесла предложение. Она призвала систематизировать межгосударственное антитеррористическое сотрудничество, принять решение о создании специального комитета по борьбе с терроризмом, что мы сегодня с вами и сделали. Я благодарю каждого из вас, я благодарю постоянный комитет за это решение, которое носит принципиальный характер. И одним из первых шагов предполагаемого к образованию специального комитета могло бы стать выяснение совокупных размеров указанных мною 3 видов ущерба. Очевидно, что такого рода демографические, моральные и финансовые потери существенно отягощают и тормозят цивилизованное развитие государств, участников Ассамблеи. Выяснение этих важных сведений позволит парламентской ассамблее в пределах своих полномочий оказать эффективное противодействие международному терроризму для начала в пространстве ОБСЕ. Добавлю, что мною, как спецпредставителем Ассамблеи по противодействию терроризму, вынашивалось намерение организовать межгосударственные исследования по данному и ряду иных актуальных вопросов. Заявление президента Кристины Мутонин о решении создать специальный комитет по борьбе с терроризмом значительно упрощает задуманную инициативу. Уважаемые коллеги, в борьбе с терроризмом мы должны консолидировать антитеррористические усилия, для чего потребуется стать патриотами и оптимистами. Я думаю, что мы сделали первый шаг на пути создания широкомасштабной коалиции, международной коалиции по борьбе с терроризмом. Я горжусь тем, что первыми о необходимости этого и первым шагом явилось именно решение парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ. Это говорит о ее месте и роли в системе защиты самых главных ценностей человечества, ценности, которые называются просто право на жизнь, право на безопасность. Я вас благодарю за внимание. Я желаю всем успешной работы, тем более, что здесь, в Минске, созданы для этого все условия. Спасибо, дорогие друзья. Успехов всем нам на этом поприще.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your report, but also for the suggestions and the basis you laid for the work of the ad hoc committee. Unfortunately, terrorism has become one of the top of on the top of our agendas, so we really have to deal with this issue. Thank you. Next one is the Special Representative for Arctic Issues, Mr. Elef Stuen. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. It's a pleasure, yet deeply concerned, that I present my report as Special Representative for Arctic Issues this year. The challenges for the Arctic area cut across all dimensions of human security that the OSCE works on. That is, whether it's geopolitical, environmental, economic, or human rights related. Even though the issue of emergent tensions between countries in the high north is there, the Arctic is still an area dominated by cooperation. The biggest challenge by far is global warming, which is resulting in serious environmental, security-related and social challenges, including special challenges for indigenous peoples. The temperature in the Arctic increases at least twice as fast as the global average. This has dramatic effects for the region. The glaciers are melting and changing the landscape. The sea ice in the Arctic Ocean is melting. Sea ice in January in 2017 was lowest on record since the first measurements in 1978. The tundra is thawing and the ground is disappearing under road and houses. So, Madam President, there's hardly anything that we can do more to emphasize the necessity and the importance of OSCE member countries to follow up on their commitments under the Paris Agreement and to also follow up on to increase their efforts to combat global warming. Arctic issues. We need to intensify collaborative work towards sustainability and adaptation to climate change in the Arctic. When it comes to political cooperation in the Arctic Council is the most important organization. It will be chaired by Finland for the years 2017 to 19, and as no indigenous peoples are permanent participants alongside state participants, making this a very important arena for them. The 8 members of the Arctic Council agreed not to let disagreements elsewhere influence the cooperation regarding joint challenges in the Arctic. All the member states have made it clear that they aim to keep the Arctic as an area of cooperation and low tension. This despite both the large remaining and the recent build-up of military capabilities in the high north. Madam President, less sea ice and less multi-year ice make the Arctic more accessible and open the Arctic Ocean. The increased activity in the Arctic is first and foremost connected to the oceans. We are witnesses increased maritime activity in many areas. The major debate, though, has to do with oil and gas exploration. And in my report, you can see more details on that. In December 20, 2016, the Obama administration banned new oil and gas offshore drilling in large parts of the U.S. Arctic. Canada followed up on announcing a 5-year ban on offshore oil and gas licenses in the Arctic. In addition, Russia announced in September 2016 that it had put the issue of new licenses for drilling on its Arctic continental shelf on hold. And there's no activity related to oil and gas around the coast of Greenland. Norway, though, has released new licenses for oil and gas development in the Barents Sea. And this has led to an amplified public debate related to how far north one should allow oil and gas related activity. Madam President, for my own activities, I travel regularly in the Arctic areas, especially in the Norwegian Arctic. I try to have a contact with the Arctic Council and also the Parliamentary Assembly to the Arctic Council, and hopefully we will be able to accommodate a trip also to Svalbard with the participation of Madam President in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is a very important report, or it's very important work you do. And I just want to mention to all of you, or stress once again, that this is also a security issue. It is a security issue that will not only affect us, but it will affect our children and our children's children and so on. So there is something where we really have to take over responsibility for the future. Thank you very much. Now we come to the Special Representative on Border Issues, Mr. Sanchez-Amor, please. No, you don't want to. Thank you. The next possibility is Mr. Christian Vigenin, Special Representative on the South Caucasus. Please, if you want to have the floor.
Thank you, President. Dear colleagues, very briefly on my work and the plans. First of all, I'd like to welcome the new Armenian delegation to our Assembly. Secondly, to express my regrets that the field office in Yerevan will be closed and OSCE will have no more field offices in the whole region, which means that we have to compensate that with stronger activity at different levels. Thirdly, which I think is not less important, I have to, and I want to express my condolences to the families of those of the victims killed after the last night violence in Alkanli village, Fizuli region. That only shows that our activity in the region and about the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict is important to prevent further loss of lives, which continue to appear. During this period, I kept a constant dialogue with the three delegations in the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly from Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia. I have exchanged information with different players in the region on a regular basis, and I monitored closely the political developments in the three countries. I have also reported to the Bureau of OSCE PA about the activities. My main effort was to increase the role of the Parliamentary Assembly in two directions. First of all, more accountability about the activity of the executive level of OSCE in front of the Assembly, and secondly, a stronger involvement of the parliamentarians in the process using the advantages of this arm of OSCE, more flexibility, more independence in comparison to executive level. Would like to express also certain regret on the fact that we are so dependent on national developments. Early elections, which were unexpected in Bulgaria, effectively blocked my work for about 4 months, but now I'm back with a renewed mandate and I'll continue my work. On a recent visit to Vienna, I was able to establish a working relations with the three co-chairs of the Minsk group. We agreed to exchange regular information on our activities on the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. I believe that this is an important breakthrough which should be further developed and enlarged. I continue to work on a possible appearance of the co-chairs of the Minsk group during an Assembly annual meeting. My invitations so far were declined, but I'm not giving up, and I hope that next year that may happen. A few words about my plans. First of all, visit to the region in September. Secondly, discussion with experts on Nagorno-Karabakh during the autumn session, with the participation of the parliamentary delegations from the Minsk group countries, and of course of all members interested, and initiating a parliamentary platform for discussions which would include MPs, youth, scientists, media, and so on different topics of mutual interest, which are less controversial. This would, of course, only be possible if supported by the executive level of OSCE and with the commitment of the two countries. I intend also to work closer with the OSCE delegations of the three countries co-chairing the Minsk group, and I will explore the possibility and the necessity to visit the three capitals to discuss the added value of the parliaments on solving the conflicts in South Caucasus. I'll finish by saying that every life that we save is an extraordinary success, but our level of ambition should be higher, and we should not only focus on prevent a large-scale conflict and war in the region, but our main goal, and I would remind that, is to achieve comprehensive and lasting peace in the region, and I think you understand the difference between two. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your work. We have one colleague asking the floor from Azerbaijan, Mrs. Muradova. Please, you have the floor.
Спасибо. Уважаемые коллеги, хотелось бы выразить большую признательность господину Вигенину и нашему генсеку Роберту Монтелло за их старания, направленные на совершенствование работы Международного секретариата и парламентской ассамблеи в целом, за усердие наладить более эффективное сотрудничество с другими органами ОБСЕ. В частности, стоит отметить попытки пригласить на нашу сессию сопредседателя Минской группы ОБСЕ. Напомню, что в 2011 году на сессии в Хорватии мы заслушали отчеты сопредседателей по их деятельности в связи с разрешением Нагорно-Карабахского конфликта. Были обсуждения, парламентарии имели возможность выразить свое мнение по их работе, задать вопросы. Мы надеялись, что эта практика будет иметь место и в будущем. Ведь информирование парламентариев может быть полезным для Минской группы и в том плане, что и мы со своей стороны можем внести какой-то определенный вклад, позадействовать в разрешении того или иного вопроса с которым сталкиваются сопредседатели. Я искренне верю в то, что такое сотрудничество и взаимодействие между всеми институтами может внести весомый вклад в нашу общую работу. Необходимость такого сотрудничества мы каждый день ощущаем в реальности, которая продолжает уносить жизни мирных граждан, наших сыновей, женщин и детей. Вчера вооруженные силы Армении вновь обстреляли из минометов и гранатометов мирное село Физулинского района, который я представляю в парламенте моей страны. В результате этого обстрела погибли у себя во дворе члены одной семьи, женщина и ее двухлетняя внучка. Есть тяжело еще раненые. Нападение со стороны армянских вооруженных сил на мирных граждан, включая женщин, стариков и детей, компактно проживающих вдоль линии соприкосновения, к сожалению, носит систематический характер. Конкретно за вчерашнее кровопролитие вся ответственность опять ложится на военно-политическое руководство Армении. С дополнительной информацией, включая фотографии и официальные заявления МИД Азербайджана и Министерства обороны, страны может ознакомиться на соответствующих сайтах. И еще наш секретариат, наверное, раздаст эти материалы вам. Страшно осознавать, что сегодня, когда мы обсуждаем вопрос укрепления взаимного доверия во имя мира и процветания в регионе ОБСЕ, у меня в стране, на моей же земле, льется кровь моих соотечественников, женщин, детей. Мне еще больно от того, что я знала погибших лично, их уже нет в живых. Напомню, что я сама вынужденная переселенка из Физулинского района. Мои избиратели, живущие на линии соприкосновения, постоянно находятся в опасности. Там в селах живет исключительно мирное население. Со стороны же противника расположились вооруженные силы, сформировавшиеся в основном из призывников из Армении. Поэтому мы, парламентарии, должны найти пути к мирному диалогу и вносить свой определенный вклад, чтобы положить конец этим кровопролитиям и действительно добиться мира и процветания в регионе. Я призываю всех вас настоятельно осудить это преступление. И в этом освободится особая роль парламентской ассамблеи. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Guliev.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Indeed, I also like to thank Mr. Beginin, Special Representative of OSCE for South Caucasus region for his work done, and also I do appreciate his effort and attempt to invite the Minsk co-chairs to come to the annual session to make some report about the progress so far they achieved. Unfortunately, they have nothing, they have no, the result in the negotiation, but despite the fact that, of course, we made attempt to invite them, unfortunately, they declined our invitation to come to the session. I think Minsk co-chairs, as a body of OSCE, should closely cooperate with other institutions of OSCE. Parliamentary Assembly has a right to invite them to ask the progress, to ask the real situation, current situation concerning the negotiation going on. We have been waiting for 25 years to get the solution for Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Unfortunately, we haven't any result, and the Minsk co-chairs didn't bring any result, didn't produce any outcome for that. But of course, I understand the complexity of the situation, but I think Minsk co-chairs must cooperate with the appropriate body, with the appropriate institution, particularly when it comes to the Parliamentary Assembly. Because we, as parliamentarians, we are being asked by our voters, what is the result, what is the progress, how the Minsk co-chairs behave and approach the problem. Even though we have been accused that the Minsk co-chairs has a certain monopoly over the negotiations. So I do encourage Mr. Beginin to continue his work, his effort to bring Minsk co-chairs to one of the annual sessions of the Parliamentary Assembly. And also talking about the last tragic incident in the front line, I also want to express my condolences to the victims of Azerbaijani civilians from Fizul region of Azerbaijan that is under occupation. Unfortunately, the last night we have witnessed that the Armenian military forces deliberately and targetable attacked on civilians and killed 2 innocent people. One lady, which is about 40 years old, and another is her granddaughter, who has 2 years old. It is barbaric act and inhuman act how the Armenian military forces can hand on civilians, on children, on women, and on elderly people. I think our Parliamentary Assembly should severely condemn this brutal attack. We should never allow those cases to take place in the clashes and in the conflict. So I think this is a deliberate attack against Azerbaijan civilian. Also, is a violation of the international humanitarian law and the human rights law. It is contradicts directly to the Geneva Protocol signed in 1994 and other amendments which is supported the rights of children and the civilians in the contact line or in the armed areas. So I think the Minsk co-chair should also do on this regard and condemn this brutal attack and also make immediate step in order to stop this type of violation, this type of casualties. I think that from that days, all the responsibility falls on the military and the political leadership of Armenia. So our Parliamentary Assembly also should not remain silent to that issue, to that barbaric act, and say, of course, make appropriate steps in order to stop further escalation in the front line. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Neri, please, you have the floor.
Oui, Madame la Présidente, merci beaucoup. Je crois que nous sommes tous consternés, frappés, et même en tant qu'êtres humains, nous sommes durement touchés par ce conflit qui ne fait que trop durer. Aujourd'hui, nos amis d'Azerbaïdjan déplorent les victimes du côté d'Azerbaïdjan. Hier, c'était du côté du Haut-Karabakh que les Arméniens, les habitants du Haut-Karabakh se plaignaient d'exactions et de morts. Chacun, à tour de rôle, compte ses morts. Et je crois que nous ne pouvons pas nous contenter de cette comptabilité tragique. Il est urgent, effectivement, qu'une solution soit trouvée au Haut-Karabakh. Et c'est pourquoi je regrette doublement la fermeture du bureau de l'OSCE à Erevan. Ce n'est pas une erreur, c'est une faute politique et c'est une faute humaine. Pour ma part, je crois qu'il faut absolument réunir dans une discussion, un dialogue arménien et azerbaïdjanais, mais également les représentants du Haut-Karabakh. Car s'il n'y a pas toutes les parties prenantes à une table, on n'arrive jamais à une solution. Vous savez, la France ne veut pas donner de leçons. Mais dans notre passé, nous avons été confrontés au problème de la décolonisation, que je ne compare pas. Mais tant qu'on n'a pas été capable d'engager le dialogue avec les représentants du peuple algérien, on n'a pas trouvé de solution au problème de l'Algérie. Donc je suis pour qu'on engage des négociations avec l'Arménie, l'Azerbaïdjan en associant les représentants du Haut-Karabakh. Pour ma part, je suis allé au Haut-Karabakh, j'étais sur la ligne de front et j'ai vu effectivement les conditions épouvantables dans lesquelles vivent ces populations. Je crois qu'il est urgent et que c'est le devoir de l'OSCE de prendre l'initiative. Moi, je crois que l'initiative pourrait être, premièrement, de dire qu'il est absolument urgent de rétablir la mission de l'OSCE à Erevan pour qu'on ait un lieu de discussion et de réflexion et en même temps de réfléchir à la possibilité de demander à ce que les représentants du Haut-Karabakh participent aux discussions. Et je dis à nos amis azerbaïdjanais qui peuvent nous reprocher d'être allés au Haut-Karabakh que nous sommes tout à fait disponibles pour nous rendre de l'autre côté de la ligne de front s'ils nous invitent du côté de l'Azerbaïdjan. Ainsi, on aura toute la vision du problème et on n'aura pas une vision parcellaire de ce douloureux problème qui est une priorité pour nous à résoudre.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, just to remind you, we have a certain pressure of time. Our next colleague who asked for the floor is from Armenia. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly. Sorry. Я хочу очень коротко сказать слова благодарности коллегам за то, что вы очень заботливо и очень внимательно относитесь к проблеме конфликта на Горному Карабаху. И хочу сделать всего две очень короткие ремарки. Во-первых, коллеги, хочу поставить вас в известность о том, что всего лишь несколько дней назад сопредседатели Минской группы ОБСЕ распространили заявление, в котором четко указали, впервые адресное заявление, в котором четко указано, что инициатором всех сегодняшних атак является Азербайджан. И обвинили Азербайджан в нагнетании обстановки и в бомбардировке мирных сел Армении и Нагорного Карабаха. Вторая ремарка, которую хочу сделать. После апрельской войны 2016 года, которая была беспримерной, масштабной агрессией со стороны Азербайджана на 180-километровой линии соприкосновения. И это был самый масштабный шаг по нарушению перемирия, заключенного в 1994 и подтвержденного в 1995 году, трехстороннего акта о перемирии, подписанного Нагорным Карабахом, Азербайджаном и Арменией. Так вот, после апрельской войны, в которой были сотни жертв с обоих сторон, были проведены две встречи в Вене и в Санкт-Петербурге. И во время этих встреч были достигнуты соглашения по установлению средств наблюдения на линии конфликта. И до сих пор, уже прошло 2 года, Азербайджан в одностороннем порядке торпедирует эти соглашения и не идет на установление средств наблюдения. И это уже говорит о том, что нарушают мир и нарушают перемирие именно со стороны Азербайджана. Также хочу поставить вас в известность, что армянская сторона в одностороннем порядке устанавливает эти средства наблюдения на линии соприкосновения для того, чтобы мы с вами, дорогие коллеги, чтобы международное сообщество имело четкие факты, кто является инициатором бомбардировок, бомбежек и стрельбы каждый день, в результате которого умирают люди, умирают мирные жители и умирают солдаты. Господин Нери совершенно прав. У нас двухсторонняя, очень трагическая бухгалтерия. И каждый день мы подсчитываем вот такие жертвы. Спасибо вам за ваше внимание.
Thank you very much. And the representative of Azerbaijan has requested the floor. You have the floor, sir.
Спасибо, уважаемый председатель. Насчет инициаторов бомбардировок, я хочу напоминать, после апрельских событий прошлого года в Армении, да и во всем мире стали проявляться все более близкие к реалиям позиции по отношению к Нагорно-Карабахскому конфликту. Из ряда прочих особый фурор в Армении вызвали высказывания о невозможности продолжения и неприемлемости статуса КВО, озвученные нашей новой коллегией в Ассамблее, госпожей Эрмине Нагдалян, которая в то время являлась вице-спикером парламента своей страны. Тогда она заявляла, что, цитирую, «Армянская сторона не претендует на 5 оккупированных территорий вокруг Нагорного Карабаха. Мы вернем ваши земли, на которые мы не имеем права. Мы эти земли не хотим. Это всего лишь наша буферная зона». Конец цитаты. Тогда ее коллеги по партии «Национальное возрождение Армении» осудили заявление госпожи Нагдалян, назвав ее высказывание ножом в спину. В те критические времена наша коллега сказала правду. И даже несмотря на нападки и со стороны своей партии, она смело высказалась о реалиях, о захватнической позиции Армении. Хоть и поздно, но все пользуясь предоставленной возможностью, хочу выразить благодарность ей за это. И сегодня непонятно вообще, почему по прошествии года здесь наблюдается совершенно другой подход. Мне кажется, что тогда, когда вы говорили об оккупации территорий Азербайджана, Армении, вы были более искренни, чем сейчас. Здесь все знают, что оккупация территорий – это грубое нарушение международного права и является причиной всех происходящих после этого преступлений. Таким образом, чтобы полностью и всесторонне разобраться в отмеченных вами случаях, привлечь к ответственности виновных, независимо от того, кем они являются, нужно прежде всего остановить оккупацию. Трибуна парламентской ассамблеи ОБСЕ – более подходящее место для ваших смелых заявлений и призывов. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you very much. I can't see the flag. Is the lady at the back wanting the floor? Okay, you have the floor.
Я благодарю мою коллегу за такую высокую оценку моей деятельности. И, вообще-то говоря, могу предоставить ей время для того, чтобы объяснить все то, что я говорила в разное время, и готова повторить сегодня. Вы не очень хорошо понимаете ни меня и ни смысл того конфликта, который сегодня происходит. Да, народ Нагорного Карабаха воюет не за земли и не за ваши районы, а воюет за свое право на самоопределение, за право, которое принято всем миром, право народа, проживающего на своей исторической родине, за то, чтобы самоопределяться. Там у нас нету никаких вопросов ваших районов, потому что ваших районов там просто нет и никогда не было. Это исторические армянские земли, и армянский народ Нагорного Карабаха по соответствии с правилами международным законодательством, международными правовыми нормами на своем референдуме выразился за то, чтобы самоопределяться на этой территории. И вот государство Азербайджан должно было иметь столько интеллигентности и столько соответствия международным правовым нормам, чтобы признать право народа жить на своей собственной и на своей исторической родине в таком историческом и правовом государстве, в правовой форме, в котором они этого хотят. Народ Нагорного Карабаха проявил свое волеизъявление. И это волеизъявление было создать независимое государство на своей исторической родине. Если у вас есть проблемы с пониманием этого, дорогая коллега, я готова вам по дружбе нашей эти все подробности объяснить еще раз. Спасибо.
Thank you very much indeed, and I think we must bring that particular item bring this matter to a close now. Time is short. We do need to finish at 12:30. We have the important report from the Secretary General, and the last Special Representative's report on South East Europe, Mr. Roberto Patelli. Mr. Patelli, you have the floor. Mr. Patelli?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dear colleagues, since my last report to the Standing Committee and the Bureau, I have closely continued to follow the regional developments. Unfortunately, there continues to be a predominantly negative trend in the region, at least partly resulting from a de facto pause in the European integration process. Apart from long-standing problems, including political crisis situations marked by boycott of elections and democratic institutions, and fading interest by big political players, in particular the European Union, the region has become an object of geopolitical engineering, which is triggering disruptive waves across the region. In order to have a closer look at the situation, show a sign of support to the OSCE field presences, call for finding solutions to political controversies inside democratic institutions, I paid a week-long visit to Albania, Montenegro and Bosnia-Herzegovina in May, accompanied by Ambassador Andreas Notelle. Other objectives of the visit were to do a assessment of the elections in Albania, address an OSCE conference on the implementation of the OSCE Code of Conduct, and to get a detailed picture of the OSCE efforts in the field in addressing issues of radicalization and violent extremism. In all meetings, we expressed the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly's continued commitment to the region and highlighted the unique work and challenging environments of the OSCE field operations in Albania, Montenegro, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. The support provided by the OSCE presences in all three countries, which is a continuation of the good cooperation extended to us, contributed to a very successful visit that led me to the following recommendations. Increased attention to the situation in Western Balkans is needed in order to assist the region in any possible way to reverse current negative trends. In order to support the development, the OSCE, including its executive structures, institutions, and field operations, should maintain welcoming and strong engagement in the region of the Western Balkans. On the issue of refugees and displaced persons, I encourage participating states and international organizations to pay special attention to unsatisfactory implementation of international obligations and commitments regarding the return of refugees and displaced persons. For instance, in Annex 7 of the Dayton Peace Accords, by countries in the region, and related unfulfilled promises by the international community. There is still an urgent need to overcome existing ethnic divisions and religious hatred. But of course, the countries need to further intensify, with the assistance of the international community, their fight against corruption and for an independent professional judiciary. They also have to urgently address the deficiency of quality media sources that are free of political dependence, but most of all, they have to stop political maneuvers that damage faith of citizens in the reliability of electoral processes and the functioning of democratic institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Botelli. Thank you. Nobody seeking the floor. That completes the reports from the special representatives, and thank you to all concerned, which takes us to item 6 on the agenda, the report of the Secretary General. Mr. Montella.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, Lord Mones, dear members, dear friends. Let me start by thanking our Belarusian hosts. I'd like to say to them, thank you very much. I was here in March when we started the organization, when we signed the agreement on cooperation. I must say you've done a great job. I know this has been a great effort from your side. We very much appreciated. All the members I've spoken to have already been very much impressed with the preparation you've put on place. So thank you very much. Also, thank you for choosing a theme which is very targeted, I think, today, enhancing mutual trust and cooperation. I think this theme is at the very core of all our proceedings, all of our discussions in today's OSCE region. Increasing trust, building confidence. There is no recipe on how we do that. Nobody knows exactly how to do this. My gut feeling is that a good start would be with the 3 words: respect, mutual respect, no double standards, and credibility. Credibility of the international organizations, credibility of the international actors. This is a good start, but there is no recipe on how you build confidence, how you build trust. I think this Parliamentary Assembly is indeed the forum where we can do that, where we can sometimes bridge gaps which at governmental level it's more difficult to. I've circulated my written report, so I will not take you too much into the details of the report, but I just want to make a few highlights on some of the things that have already happened here today. On the financial regulations and the budget, I'd like to thank the Standing Committee for approving the budget. I'd like to thank you for approving the financial regulations. For the first time, the Parliamentary Assembly in 25 years has now a set of rules for the staff, with staff rules that were approved and noted by the Bureau last April. And now we have a set of financial regulations. These regulations offer a greater transparency, accountability, scrutiny, and more efficient management of the small resources that we have at the International Secretariat. Next week in Vienna, Gustavo Pagliares, myself, and Francesco Pagani, we will also select a new Chief of Administration and Finance. We have issued a vacancy which was broadly publicized, and for the first time there will be a proper panel with a written test. They are taking place this week as we speak, and next week will be oral examination for the new Chief Administration and Finance. I will also take the opportunity to thank the OSCE Secretariat for giving us advice, giving us also an expert who is assisting us on this. On elections, which is the flagship on our activities, last year in 12 months we've deployed 10 missions. This is a record in 1 year, and it's a record also that for twice we had 2 sets of elections at the same place. Just last week in Mongolia and Albania, and when there were elections in Moldova and in Georgia. So we had our staff, our small staff here, stretched in 2 separate locations at the same time. For this, I would like to thank the 503 members of parliament who have participated in missions and have provided leadership, but also to thank Irina and the election department, Andreas, Loic, all those who have contributed from our side on organizing election missions. On cooperation with the OSCE, as you know, this was one of my priorities. I mentioned this when I first was elected in Helsinki. I have tried to reach out to the parliament, to the governmental side of the OSCE through a number of discussions with the Secretary General. I must say I'm happy to report that this is mission accomplished. I think we have an excellent relationship now with the governmental side. They participate together with us. Mr. Tsereteli mentioned the visit to Turkey. Also a previous visit to Turkey, we had members of the Secretariat of the OSCE. So we work together with the OSCE. We use common sense. We don't have the ambition of supervising their work. We work together. We have a focus on what are the issues. We've understood that what matters is how we can put all the OSCE assets together in order to deliver on the issues that are at the forefront of the OSCE agenda, be it on migration, on terrorism, and other challenges. So this is the new asset that we have. I would like to spend here a word also of gratitude and thank to the departing Secretary General Lamberto Zanier. He is no longer Secretary General since last week, but he has been, let's say, a giant in reaching out to parliamentarians. He has taken his own initiative to meet parliamentarians wherever he was traveling in other countries, and he has showed genuine respect for the parliamentarians, genuine respect for the work that we do, and genuine respect for the Parliamentary Assembly. You see in my report there is also an exchange of letters that I've had with him, and we have also outlined a bit the aspects of this cooperation so that it's also written in paper also for the future Secretary General, which is not elected yet, and we will come to that in a moment. This leads me also to say a word about our Vienna office. I'd like to here publicly commend the work of Ambassador Notelle, who's been leading this office for 15 years. He's led the office in challenging moment when our relationship was that I would call in Latin amicus hostis, friends, enemy, when we had challenges with the governmental side. Now the situation with governmental side is totally different. We have an excellent cooperation. So we're also a bit reviewing the way we work in Vienna. And next week, Ambassador Notelle, Gustavo, and the colleagues in Vienna, we will do a brainstorming exercise on how to make some reforms on the proceedings and on the way we work in Vienna. In line with an Icelandic supplementary items last year, where I was asked to develop an action plan on how the PA and the executive instruction can work more closely together, and how I could find new ways to improve the cooperation with the governmental side. I think we have delivered on this through this report and through this exchange of letters. In Andorra, we will give you also more details on how we plan to do this structurally also with the committees. On the senior appointments of the OSCE, the OSCE is in a situation of difficulty. As of last weekend, we no longer have a Secretary General, we do not have a Director of the ODIHR, we do not have a Special Representative of the Freedom of the Media, and we do not have a Director for the High Commissioner for National Minorities. All these positions are empty, are carried by people who have the responsibility on an interim phase, but the election of these members, the designation of these members is still installed. The Austrian chairmanship is making a huge effort to find consensus, because as you know, in the governmental side, you need to have consensus to have these elections, to have these positions approved. So we lend our support to the Austrian chair. We understand that it's a challenge, and we, as Parliamentary Assembly, we always called for a strong OSCE. So we hope soon that these 4 positions will be filled by high-level candidates with whom then we can interact and work. Funny enough, for once, the Parliamentary Assembly is the most stable institution, with the President and the Secretary General, which have a longer mandate. 2 more words on one on the Migration Committee, to express great gratitude for the work of all the members of the Migration Committee, Mr. Lombardi and all the other members, Mr. Neri and all those who have participated in recent visits. The way this committee has operated is really for us an example of what we could do now also with the new ad hoc committee on anti-terrorism. And for this I would also like to thank the Standing Committee for approving this new committee on anti-terrorism. It's been traditionally a Russian proposal. Now it's become a presidential proposal after it was discussed in this St. Petersburg conference. I appreciate the Standing Committee for approving it, and we will try to have a lot of activities in this area as well. In concluding, I would like to thank, of course, all my colleagues at the International Secretariat for the work they do. As you see, we are a small office. I've listed also all their names in my report. We do our best to serve the members of Parliament. And I also would like to thank all of you, members of Parliament, for the advice, also for the silence, maybe, and for the friendship that you share with us. I would like un mot en français aussi, parce que je ne sais pas si ça c'est le dernier ou peut-être une des dernières sessions de M. Neri, mais je sais que c'est M. Voisin n'est plus avec nous. J'ai préparé un petit cadeau pour M. Neri et pour M. Voisin que j'espère la délégation française va lui donner. C'est pour le service qu'ils ont fait dans l'Assemblée parlementaire au plus haut niveau en servant comme vice-président. Donc je consigne ça à M. Neri, s'il peut venir ici, et à monsieur. Just a minute.
I thank the Secretary General on your behalf for his report. I'm sure we would all endorse his words with regard to Monsieur Voisin and Monsieur Neri and wish them very well and thank them for all that they have done. Going to give the floor to Ms. Senora Sanchez-Amor. I ask you, dear colleague, if you would be very brief, and I'm afraid this can be the only contribution on this particular item because we are going to run out of time otherwise. Mr. Amor.
Gracias, presidente. Gracias, Roberto. Con toda la rapidez, pero creo que subrayando que es un asunto importante para el futuro trabajo de nuestra organización. Me refiero a las misiones de observación electoral, que presentan nuevos problemas. Hay una enorme cantidad de nuevos actores trabajando en observación electoral, sin la capacidad, sin la experiencia y, para decirlo brevemente, vendiendo informes favorables a gobiernos que estén dispuestos a comprarlos. Un problema. Otro problema. Un problema de credibilidad en uno de los principales actores internacionales en observación electoral, que es la Asamblea Parlamentaria del Consejo de Europa. No voy a insistir, pero los problemas internos en la Asamblea Parlamentaria del Consejo de Europa están llevando a que se cuestione el papel de todas las organizaciones de parlamentarios en la observación electoral. Y es un asunto muy grave que se ponga en cuestión nuestra capacidad para hacerlo. Y esto en un marco en el que hay nuevas amenazas para la integridad de las elecciones. Fake news, el uso de noticias falsas para interferir en las campañas electorales y la cuestión de la ciberseguridad en las elecciones. Por tanto, el panorama es una enorme cantidad de nuevos actores, problemas de credibilidad para la labor de los parlamentarios, amenazas con falsas noticias para interferir en las campañas y la cuestión de la ciberseguridad. Yo creo que este conjunto de elementos dibujan un cuadro que obliga a nuestra organización a repensar desde la base nuestra labor de observación electoral, no ya solo en los aspectos técnicos que Roberto y sus colegas se han ocupado, también desde el punto de vista político. Hay que repensar nuestra labor porque podemos estar rellenando en unas elecciones miles de formularios mientras un joven en un café a 2.000 kilómetros está con un ordenador personal interfiriendo en las elecciones. Por tanto, colegas, llamo a una reflexión en los próximos meses para que repensemos desde la base nuestra labor de observación electoral. Gracias.
Thank you very much. I apologise to colleagues who wanted to contribute to this, but we really are running out of time. And I'll abuse my position from the chair just to point out that we can solve this problem if we actually had a radical rethink about the procedures at these meetings when very important issues are raised and there isn't sufficient time because of the way that matters have to be dealt with as we're currently organised. Having said that, may I move on to, before moving on to 7, thank Roberto for his report and all the progress that has been made, and I'm sure that he'll do that on your behalf. Now, item 7 is information about the upcoming meetings of the Assembly. I will give the floor to the representatives of those parliaments who've graciously and generously offered to host these meetings. But I'd be very, very grateful indeed if any contribution that they wish to make was indeed very short. So item 1, the autumn meeting, which everybody is looking forward to in Andorra la Vella. And I would ask Madam Palmita Yavila to say a few words. Andorra? Andorra?
Merci.
Yeah.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Merci à la délégation biélorusse de nous avoir accueillis à Minsk. C'est un plaisir pour nous de partager aujourd'hui, ici, cette session d'été parmi vous. Le prochain rendez-vous est donc fixé en octobre au cours de la session d'automne qui aura lieu dans la principauté d'Andorre, que j'ai déjà eu l'occasion de vous présenter brièvement. Nous allons pouvoir débattre d'un thème qui est au sein de l'OSCE et qui nous tient à tous très à cœur. La sécurité dans la région de l'OSCE, nouveaux défis, nouvelles missions. L'Andorre, en tant que petit pays de 70 000 habitants environ, sur une superficie de 468 km², ancré au cœur des Pyrénées entre la France et l'Espagne, a une longue trajectoire de cohabitation en paix, aussi bien au sein de ses habitants qu'avec ses pays voisins. C'est un État indépendant qui a fait beaucoup d'efforts et qui continue à en faire pour se développer économiquement, mais aussi socialement et garantir un maximum d'opportunités, de sécurité et de bien-être à tous ses citoyens. C'est un pays vulnérable où la globalisation impose beaucoup de défis et d'exigences et oblige l'Andorre à adapter constamment sa législation vers une ouverture à l'Europe et au monde en général. 3 thèmes d'actualité vont être débattus au cours de cette session. La Commission des affaires politiques et de la sécurité va aborder la cybersécurité. La Commission économique des sciences, de la technologie et de l'environnement va aborder la sécurité environnementale pour faire face au changement climatique. Une question qui a été abordée tout à l'heure. Et finalement, la Commission de la démocratie et des droits de l'homme va centrer le débat dans le domaine de l'éducation. Promouvoir l'éducation comme garantie de la stabilité et du développement. L'Andorre va avoir l'opportunité de partager avec vous tous, parlementaires de 57 pays, ses expériences et aussi la mise en place de mesures concrètes dans l'objectif de contribuer au bien-être et à la sécurité internationale. Nous considérons la sécurité comme un défi à l'échelle mondiale et à l'échelle locale de notre pays. La sécurité est un des grands atouts de l'Andorre. Vous allez pouvoir le découvrir lors de la prochaine session d'automne, le 3, 4 et 5 octobre. Et je profite pour vous rappeler que les inscriptions sont ouvertes et donc n'attendez plus pour faire vos réservations. Nous espérons donc vous accueillir dans quelques mois en Andorre pour partager ce débat, mais aussi pour vous faire profiter de la découverte de nos montagnes, de nos paysages, de nos sites historiques, de nos traditions et bien sûr du shopping, entre autres. Merci donc et rendez-vous en Andorre en octobre. Merci.
Give you notice that the winter meeting in Vienna for the 22nd, 23rd of February 2018, and of course everybody looks forward to seeing you at that meeting. 7.3, the 27th annual session will be in Berlin. I'll ask our treasurer, Madame Doris Burnett, if she wishes to say anything. Please, could we are short of time, it would help if delegates could listen to the speaker.
Ja, liebe Freunde, wir treffen uns nächstes Jahr in Berlin und ich freue mich, Ihnen sagen zu können, dass wir sogar im Plenarsaal, also im Bundestag, tagen werden und auch einen schönen Empfang bei einem großen Freund der OSZE, nämlich unserem ehemaligen Außenminister und jetzigen Bundespräsidenten, Herrn Frank-Walter Steinmeier, haben werden. So viel in Kürze von mir.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Barnett. Thank you. And we will look forward to being in Berlin. And the last meeting, of which there is notice, 7.4, the autumn meeting, where Kyrgyzstan have offered to arrange this. And I would ask Mrs. Rada Tumanbayeva if she wishes to say anything. Kyrgyzstan?
Уважаемые коллеги, друзья, мы с удовольствием в 2018 году в октябре месяце готовимся и рады видеть вас, наших коллег, наших друзей на гостеприимной кыргызской земле. Мы всегда готовы и рады встрече с вами. Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much indeed. Item 7.5, invitations for the future. As noted by the Treasurer, the Assembly is looking forward national parliaments to offer to host meetings or contribute to support the work of the Assembly in other ways. I can report that we've received an invitation from Luxembourg. Everybody wants to leave, ladies and gentlemen, and if we can get through the agenda and we can all finish, we can be sure that we will leave. The Assembly has now received an invitation from Luxembourg to host the annual session in 2019. The autumn meeting in 2019 and all statutory meetings from 2020 are still open for anybody who wishes to make a bid, and clearly the Secretariat and the officers encourage parliaments to make an offer. That, colleagues, completes the agenda. Can I just remind everybody that notwithstanding what is in the printed programme, it is necessary to be here at 2 o'clock, not 2:30, 2 o'clock for the bus to the inaugural meeting. It will go on time, so it's very necessary that we observe that. Thank you for your cooperation. Sorry to have to rush you.
Yeah,